Hey guys, it's me Neon, and today we're just talking about this absolutely wild story of this manager who just would not let their worker leave. Like, she was borderline just kidnapping this lady. But yeah, I do hope you guys like the story. If you do, just please like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And yeah, let's get into it. Okay, another tale from my retail job, which I recently quit. Yay! While I procrastinate from my other work, this one was about like 15 years ago at my original store. I worked in the ladies' wear section doing recovery, basically just tidying up and sometimes printing price tickets for the shelves if there were any missing or torn. And I basically just thought it was like impossible to get it finished in the time allotted for my shift because it was just such a crazy job, especially on days such as Mother's Day or pre-Christmas slash Boxing Day sales. It just turned into an absolute nightmare. As if the usual holiday mess shopping was not bad enough, though, the department manager, we can just call her Stacy, had in all of her infinite wisdom decided to put all of the ladies' wear clearance into this section at once. So they actually did it for all of the clothes departments, but most of them only had a small amount, so you could just easily fit all of it into the normal clearance racks. However, it ended up being with 10 times as much clearance as usual because of this one year, because whoever decided that we made clothes decided that, hey, we've made stuff and we've ended up with mountains of hoard outfits marked down to the dollar, even though most people wouldn't even wear it if you paid them. But yeah, usually they would just keep most of the excess and just throw it in the back, or just have a few racks of it in the section just in case. And as the stuff in the section is sold, the racks just emptied, and then they'd be replenished for more stuff out of the back. For some reason, Stacy decided that she wanted all of it to be available to customers at once, even though it literally physically did not even fit onto the racks. Not to be deterred by like stupid little things like logic and reason, she moved the regular stock from the main middle aisle of the section and into other aisles, causing those to just be so overfilled, and ordering the fill staff to just put the clearance all along the middle aisle. When I say items were literally bulging off of the shelf arms, I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating. It was literally everywhere. It was actually just a train wreck. And you could barely even walk down the aisle without just getting immediately just barraged with all of this stuff, because it was just so ridiculous. I mean, without the first 4 to 5 things of the on each arm falling off if you walked by it. And of course, any customer that wanted to look at anything further back on the shelf, they just knocked most of the other stuff onto the floor in the process. So there was just constantly a several inch thick layer of clothes just lying on the floor, which just made it pretty much just impossible to actually recover the clearance section properly. But the actual recovery staff were just told to prioritize doing a pickup every hour or so to make sure there was no stock on the floor, and spend the rest of the time going through and recovering the rest of the sections, making sure that everything was in the right place, in the right order, and in the right size. It was actually just insane with the amount of stuff that was everywhere, but that's just what we had to do. So I had to shift on Boxing Day, and I'd heard from the pre-shift huddle that one of the big regional managers was coming to like visit slash inspect the store at the closing time, and that we needed to make sure that the store was actually perfect. Not sure how that was going to happen on Boxing Day and with half of the staff we needed, but hey, it's not my job. Well, kind of was my job, but hey, it's not anymore, so yeah. When I started my shift, 90% of the clearance clothing was on the floor. For most of the aisle, you couldn't even see the floor. I knew that there was actually just no way I'd be able to keep the floor clean in the clearance section, because my shift ended at the same time the store closed, and just pretty much anything I tidied up would just be immediately destroyed. So I decided to focus on the rest of the section, and get it presentable, and then quickly as I could just try and pick up the clearance section in the last like 10 to 15 minutes just before the store shut. At the start of my shift, it was just absolute chaos. Stuff was actually everywhere, and it was just actually a horrible experience, to not gonna lie. But yeah, at the start of my shift, I just did everything halfway. I picked up everything not to the best of my ability, and I just tried to shove most of the mess onto the side a bit. That way it wasn't like right in the front of the aisle. That way she couldn't just like see it when she just walked in. But yeah, that's when Stacy came in. What are you doing? Have you seen clearance? Why aren't you fixing it? It's everywhere. Me, yeah, because you put too much in there. I picked it up and it just falls right off because the shelves are just too full and the customers knock it down as soon as I fix it anyway. Stacy, well, are you planning on doing anything about it? Me, well, not right now. I can't really do anything about it. There's just so many customers in the aisle I can barely even get in, much less try and actually clean up for an actual reasonable amount of time. But I figured I'd get the rest of the store tied up and then pick up clearance at the end. That way it's just easier. Stacy, not good enough. You need to make sure the clearance is off the floor and sorted properly. You know Bob, the regional manager, is due for a visit this evening, and we cannot have anything not good. Me, I understand that, but like I said, it's literally impossible to recover the clearance section because of just how much stock there is and how many customers there are. If I can do at least the rest of this area first, then it will only be clearance that looks a bit rough, and I can at least make sure that everything is off the floor at the end of my shift. Stacy, you don't get to decide what and when to prioritize. You just need to make sure that clearance is perfect. No one likes, I know no one likes clearance, but you need to stop making excuses to get out of it. So don't leave the clearance section until you've finished doing it. Me? Okay. 5 minutes before my shift ends and the store closes, the regional manager, Bob, shows up and is escorted around the store by the manager, Mark, and Stacy. They step in front of the ladies' wear section, and Stacy just breathes. What is happening? You see, I had finished tidying clearance, though the shelves were still overfull. None of the clearance was on the floor in that aisle, and everything was in the right size and hanging neatly. The clearance section was my actual just priority of doing everything because that's what my manager said. But the rest of the department had not even been touched, since I couldn't even finish cleaning the clearance until the store was pretty much just closed. I wasn't even allowed to leave until clearance, and I did finish it. It meant that the rest of it just looked like a bomb had went off with it, with stock all over the floor, clothes draped over the shelves, and just instead of them being hung up properly. Broken coat hangers were just everywhere, and abandoned shopping baskets and piles of stock from other departments just were left lying everywhere. Bob and Stacy looked like they were actually going to murder me, but Mark, who I knew was generally a good worker, asked why it was in such poor condition given that I was recovering it for the past 3 hours. I explained that my manager told me I wasn't even allowed to leave until I'd finished doing it, because there's so much overstock and so many customers pulling things apart, I really just couldn't do anything. And in one of those perfect moments, right as I said that, one of the shelf arms behind me gave way with a loud crash, sending an entire rack of clothes to the floor. Mark just stared at me silently for a few seconds and then said to me, well, you have done well under the circumstances. I'm not going to lie. You can go home. I'm not sure if Stacy got into any trouble, but nothing else was said to me about it by the store manager. I never got any warnings or disciplinary action or anything. The following shift, more rails had been brought out from the back and placed in the central aisle of the store, and some of the clearance had been moved from to those rails to free up space in my section. Stacy, from that point on, literally refused to talk to me for the rest of the time I was working there. And seriously, she was just the most unprofessional manager I could ever have to deal with. Seriously, how can managers, nonetheless, literally, you'd think that they'd understand how this is gonna work, because clearly they did something right if they're a manager, but no, there's actually just people out here just who have the brain of, I don't know, like a chipmunk or something, where they literally don't realize that, hey, the workers probably know what they're doing because it's their job to know what they're doing and they've been working here, but yeah, what do I know? I'm just some random guy on the internet who likes to make fun of stuff, but yeah, I do hope you guys liked this video. If you did, just please like and subscribe. It helps me out an absolute ton, way more than you could even imagine, and yeah, if you have any stories, please leave those in the comments. I might read those off, or if you have any ideas for reactions, and yeah, see you guys next time. This is Neon saying see ya, and bye.